Hello everyone, welcome. We will shortly be in conversation with Edouard Gouin from Convelio. Hello everyone, thank you for joining us. Hello, great to see everyone. We're waiting for Edouard to join us. And here's Edouard.
Hi,
Hello Edouard, good to see you.
Emilio.
While our audience
Likewise.
joins
Thank you
us,
for
let me
having me.
start by introducing our conversation. Welcome to Bold, Exploring Style, Business and Design. I am UK-based author and brand strategist Emilio Pimentel Reid. Today, I'm thrilled to be in conversation with Edouard Gouin, one of the two founders at Convelio, a company delivering global logistics to the art market through a digital platform and integration tool. Edouard has always had a strong interest in art, particularly the work of artists who address the theme of technology. In June 2021, he was recognized as the Ivy Award winner for the Best Young Tech Leader. 1 year before that, Edouard and Clément Wizil, his business partner, were listed in the Forbes 30 Under 30 for Convelio and its contribution to the art and culture industry. Welcome. Edouard, how did you start your career and what led you to the art and culture industry? I know that you lived in Berlin for a while. Tell us about that part of your life.
Sure thing. So I started my career working for a big startup incubator out of Berlin called Rocket Internet. So primarily doing operations, and that's where I met my co-founder, Clément. So we both used to work for the same boss back then. And we got along really, really well. Actually, Clément became one of my closest friends. And we told ourselves that it would be great to start a company together at some point, which we ended up doing. So we created the first company that didn't work out. And then what led us to the art and design is that after that, let's say, first failed adventure, I started to build a marketplace in the design space, because that's always like been something that I really enjoyed. And at that point in time, we said, well, I start to kind of build a marketplace on my own in the beginning, and then if things would pick up, then he would join me. And so he went on to work for another marketplace in the design space called Pamono, and then we very quickly realized that our biggest pain points together were logistics around kind of shipping, high-end design items, essentially also artworks and so on. And that's how we got started.
I have to say that usually with startups, and I've worked for startups as well, the hardest part to get right is the logistics behind the scenes. So you worked in different areas and then you decided to start your own business. And at what point did you decide, okay, this is the right time to take on this new challenge?
It's a good question. I've tried to build several companies in the past. So I think I always I had that willingness to try to solve problems when I saw one. I think what's different with Convelio is probably a mix of different elements. It's like, of course, it's with whom you want to do it. And I think doing it with Clément was like an evidence at some point. Like he's like, we're really complementary, and that's something that definitely helps. And we very complementary from let's say like character perspective, but also from a skill set perspective, which I think was really good. The second element is the problem, kind of what you want to solve. And when we bumped into, like the logistic issues that are linked to transporting design items, art items, like it was crystal clear that it was something that needed to be done, because it was kind of really oligopolistic structure. We're really frustrated with the way things were being done. And the last part is timing, right? So we identified that problem. Nobody was really solving it as we thought it
And
should
you
be
had
solved.
the
And so
skill
that's kind
set
of a
to bring it
combination of these
all
three. So
to
kind
bring
of,
it all together. So explain to us what
yeah,
makes
yeah,
Convelio
exactly.
unique in its market, and are there any, and then also, are there any minimum value to the works that you ship?
Yeah, so maybe I can start on the focus and then kind of what differentiates us and then how we got here. But essentially, I mean, our solution is for, let's say, artworks and design items that are have a commercial value above 2,500 euros, also, so like equivalent in dollars. And what differentiates us is essentially the way we kind of looked at the problem in the first place, right? So, I mean, our frustration 6 years ago now was that to get a shipping price at the time, we'd have to wait like 48 hours up to 5 days for quite complex projects. Prices were often super expensive because we didn't have that many companies that were able to handle these kind of items, and the geographical coverage was not large enough, right? So what we decided to build was a one-stop shop from which we can get instant shipping rates, with competitive prices and with a very large geographical scope. And the combination of these three elements is, I think, what really sets us apart. Now, if we go a bit deeper on what that means, essentially is like having instant prices. We had to build like an algorithm that essentially takes tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of data points by now, on kind of the different part of the value chain that need to be put together to actually display price. When it comes to having competitive prices, it was also about rethinking the model. So kind of like making sure that you always find the best route with the right supplier, that you cater the offering based on what people need, right? And essentially what that means is if you transport a mirror worth 2,500 euros, you're not going to use the same value chain as transporting, let's say, a 1 million painting. And so that was kind of like the mix of these different elements. And lastly, on the geographical scope, I mean, it was really obvious from the beginning that we are in a market which is centered around a couple of hubs, right? So like a lot of people are sourcing in Europe, and then a lot of buyers are based in Asia and in the US. So like we really quickly defined like a couple of routes on which we wanted
Many
to
of
focus
us
on.
who have
So
worked in
that's in yeah.
interior design practices know that sometimes you go shopping in, well, not sometimes, you go shopping in different countries and all that, and then you have to find the shipper who ships from India, and the shipper who ships from Hong Kong, and the shipper who does Paris, and la la la. And before you know it, you're dealing with a million people. So how do you work with interior designers who maybe are in the middle of putting together a hotel project or a big project? And then separately, because you have a range of clients, how do you work with the galleries and auction houses?
Yeah. So actually on interior designers, I mean, it's obviously something we do a lot. That's something we love to do because most of the time these are amongst the most complex projects you can put together. Because as you mentioned, you can have like multiple pickups across the world, then you have to consolidate, then you have to ship everything at the same place, and so on and so on. So that's something we do. We obviously do a lot, and something that people wanted was essentially to have like a simple experience to manage that, and to have like a fast answer time. So the way we work with interior designers, essentially there is always kind of one dedicated person kind of taking care of the entire project, or several if it's a really large one, which we have a couple in the process at the moment. And obviously on top of that, the fact that we're able to get prices really quickly, so it helps interior designers to also understand, well, is the sourcing that I'm currently doing worth the money I'm actually spending? Because obviously logistic costs can be massive, right? As you mentioned, if you source some stuff in Asia, in India, in Singapore, in Italy, in France, in the UK, a bit in the US, and then destination is somewhere in Canada, like, I mean, obviously like logistic costs can pile up pretty quickly. So we're trying to work with them to understand what makes the most sense from a logistic standpoint, how we can best put together all of the different items and the different mode of transportation that we can offer. We can obviously ship things by plane, but if we don't have, let's say, too much of a deadline, we can obviously look at sea freight, which is obviously significantly more cost efficient on top of being environmentally more friendly. So yeah, I mean, it's interior designers are probably, I mean, not probably, is one of the
And you
largest
work
category
with
of clients that we
galleries
work with.
and auction houses as
Yeah.
well. So you're working with art fairs and these sort of things. Tell us how you work with the galleries and the auction houses.
Sure thing. So we have like with the galleries, we have essentially two use cases, right? Like we have the classic use case, which is, I don't know, you walk into a gallery in Mayfair, you live in New York, the gallery needs to have a shipping price. They go on the platform, they say, well, my gallery is based in Mayfair, my client is based in New York, here are the dimensions of the work. They get a price straight away, and the whole transaction can be completed straight into the gallery. That's kind of like, let's say, the most basic use case that we have, that we work with, and I represent the vast majority of our volumes. The other use case with galleries are primarily around, obviously, art fairs. And these are like quite similar to some extent to what you would see like as project with interior designers. So you have like a massive amount of work, like number of works that are going to a certain place and need to be installed and so on, right? So that's the second use case, which is also like super interesting to us. Now, if we look at auction houses on the other end, it's a slightly different set of clients for the reason that the volumes are not the same, right? So if you take like the top auction houses, not to name names, but like obviously they ship hundreds of thousands of work every year, right? And so it's like the value chain need to be rethought a little bit. So it's like, say, the way we'll work with them is like we have dedicated times at which we're going to pick up, and so we make sure that a couple of times a week we go in a warehouse, we pick up everything, then everything is packed, and we ship everything at once, trying to make sure that we can deliver the work as fast as possible, and also making sure, because the space in the warehouses are limited, that we don't use too much of the space within the warehouse. The way we work also with auction houses is through a slightly different product, right? So let's say an art gallery would go on a website and they can get a quote. Like quite a lot of the clients that we work with right now are also using our API. So a lot of the auction houses, especially during COVID, have been moving online, and we're looking for a solution to display shipping prices at checkout. And that's what we created. So that's the API that you can find with several auction houses that we're working with, and yeah, that's
so you've had a successful bid, and you can quickly find out how much it will cost to have things shipped.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, so far you can use it in two ways, right? I think the vast majority of our clients, when they're using the API, they're primarily offering the solution for clients once they have won the lot, because that's kind of like the most obvious use case, right? Like you won a couple of lots, you go to your page and to your account page, and you have like 3 lots, and then you will essentially generate a shipping quote for you to have everything being delivered to one of your home or several of your homes. So that's kind of one possibility. Something that we're also discussing with some clients right now is also to be able to allow bidders to see how much the shipping price would potentially cost before they actually place the bid.
Yeah.
So then they can cater kind of like the bidding strategy. I think that's very useful,
super useful
for interior designers.
Having bought things that then cost a fortune to ship, it does put things in perspective.
Exactly.
Now, going back to you as a new growing dynamic company, shorter term, how do you stay true to the company's vision? And then, what are the long-term goals for Convelio?
So how do we stay true to our vision? I mean, we have a set of values that we define internally, and I would tend to say that even before being mission-based, we were primarily more value-based, right? And I won't go through all of them, but essentially what we always told ourselves with Clément was that we wanted an environment in which like there was no ego, like no personal, and like, let's say you can have personal ambition, but like the ambition of the group as a whole is significantly more important than any one individual. So that's the first element. The second element was around care, so making sure so that people feel good when they come to the office. I think there are still quite a lot of things that can be done as a company in the outward to kind of create a culture where like everyone feels really welcome and that is quite young and so on and so on. And the last one was around performance. Obviously, like, I mean, we are a young company and we nice, and I think have little ego, but I think it's also obviously very important for us that we deliver on the results that we set to ourselves. So I think that's always kind of has been the guiding principle for us. and allowed us to stay on track. Now, when it comes to the vision as a company, I mean, there are a lot of opportunities right now in the market, but I think it's if we see it like this, like the art market and the design market in general are one of the few markets that have not been really digitized just yet, if you put it like this. So, you know, especially when we were in tech companies, we were like in the prime of e-commerce in fast fashion, let's say, and so on and so on. And we arrived now within the art and design business, and there is still a lot of things that need to be done. We wanted to act as a business enabler, kind of delivering shipping solutions. Obviously, in the future, we want to offer more services within that category, more logistic services, but we also think that there are probably, let's say, satellite projects that could come around this to make sure that we can also help our clients on a variety of other topics. And so these are things that we're discussing right now. Obviously, as of now, it's more vision, like we really focused on just building the best logistics solution possible, and that's going to be to continue to be our focus in the next years. Now, I think if we look, let's say, further away, we see all the opportunities on the market, a market that's becoming more digital, where buyers are becoming, like, let's say, the new generations are coming within the market. So there is quite a pretty strong demographic swing happening. And I think that's super interesting because everyone needs to review the customer experience, and then
customer experience is getting better and better, and having that information, that logistics information before you purchase is really useful to have. Tell us about the Ivy Award, the French Ivy Award that you received.
Sure thing. So that was that's an award that's given by a set of senior executives at large tech companies in France. So they've been gathering for the past 20 years once a year, and there's essentially some kind of a competition between different companies and the CEOs. And so we've been very lucky to have been selected, like Convelio and myself, and we ended up winning after pitching in front of that set of senior executives. I mean, it was personally great, I think, but I mean, the reality is that we have a whole team behind us. Like, that award goes not only to me, but I think goes to the wider team that has done a tremendous work over the past couple of years. And obviously, we've grown the company a lot, but that's primarily thanks to them, right? So there is never...
Well, congratulations. And obviously, you're on a lot of people's radars, and they're watching what the company is doing. Are there any upcoming news that you're able to share at this time?
So I think there are probably two things worth mentioning. One where I can give a bit of visibility, the other one not so much. But on the one I can give visibility is, like, we are extending the range of routes that we're able to price instantly, significantly. So we've had a massive acceleration when it comes to the number of routes that can be coded instantly. And that's going to continue. So, like, the idea for us is to make it as transparent and as accessible to everyone within the art and design space to ship and to have access to shipping prices really quickly. We know also that it's a little bit of a drawback for us because obviously our competition use that to benchmark their prices, but we think that's the right approach for the market, and the market needs this level of transparency. Now, for the second news, we have a big news coming in the next couple of weeks. I cannot share right now, but that will allow us to offer even a much better service in the years to come. And I'll be happy to share that maybe with a follow-up call in the weeks to come.
I want to encourage our viewers to visit your Instagram feed and your website to find out more about what the company does, but also to stay updated on the news. And here on our Bold series of conversations, I often talk to interior designers about their projects, or galleries and makers, and it's really interesting to have the logistics sides of it, because none of their work really happens unless they can get the wonderful objects to their projects. To end our conversation, and this is a question that I ask all of our guests, what is the power of bold art and design, and how does Convelio contribute to the cultural industry at large?
So I mean, so on let's say more the way we contribute at large, I think what was important to us when we started Convelio was the fact that we've been faced with a problem, right? Like the problem that we thought was significantly hindering the growth of the markets and allowing it to transition to a stage where it becomes more relevant to its buyers and so on and so on. And we thought that one piece of the puzzle was really logistics. And so we always thought, well, if we want to make sure that board art, board design gets distributed across the world, we need to make sure that there is the right logistic that goes with it, and that it can becomes more accessible if the right service is being put in place. And so that's really what we try to do and what we're trying to continue to do. I think beyond that, also where we are quite proud is the jobs that we've created. I mean, we created quite some jobs in the space, and the team has grown significantly, and obviously people that come and go, and some of our alumni are also doing great things. And I think it's like, and we are very proud of the team that we put together over the years, and yeah, I think that
No, actually, I think that that's a
messy,
great
but
response,
yeah,
because art and design do create a lot of employment for people globally, and in all of its
100%.
Elements. And it's good to remember that side as well. It's been an absolute pleasure, Edouard. Thank you for joining us today. And again, I encourage everyone to visit Convelio's
Likewise.
Instagram feed and website for more information. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.